Welcome to the channel, everyone. Thanks for joining me for voting video number 262 in the Incredible Mandela Effect voting video series. Throughout our lives, we have repeatedly heard slogans from companies that want us to think about their products and services. And who could forget, I'm going to take Maxwell House because it's good to the last drop, and I'm loving it, which is what McDonald's says. I'm going with Lucky Charms because they're magically delicious. There's always room for Jell-O, right? I mean, some of these slogans have been ingrained in our minds, and they're so strong. Lego my ego. Ready when you are. Love to fly and it shows. Double your pleasure, double your fun with Doublemint gum. I mean, we've heard these over and over throughout time. Well, today's video is about a slogan from the late 70s, early 80s. And it has to do with a brokerage firm, E.F. Hutton. Now, some of you are not going to be aware of this, but others of you I know saw these commercials. When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. That was the slogan. I'll show you a few commercials here in a minute. And what I noticed also was that this person who wrote this article, C.W. Plunkett, is definitely experiencing the Mandela effect, because he has another slogan here the way I remember it, and I haven't gotten around to doing a video on it, but it's not the way it's always been. Who out there hasn't uttered the phrase, "Pardon me, but do you have any Grey Poupon?" Well, that's exactly how I remember it. However,
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?
But of course, pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? It's almost like he's asking if he wants some. Would you have any? It's like, no, that wasn't what I remember. It was, pardon me, but do you have any Grey Poupon? Not pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there as a little added bonus. So let's get into this one. If you remember when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. Go ahead and thumb this video up. But if it's always been when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen, go ahead and thumb the video down. I'm about to show you what it's always been. Right now I'm showing you what I remember. Here's some newspaper articles. 1984, when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. The old "When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen" TV commercial also comes to mind. 2015 Reno, Nevada newspaper. I was looking through company slogans today while I was sitting at the DMV. My wife was renewing her license, and we were sitting there for 3 to 4 hours, so I had quite a bit of time on my hands. When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. So anyway, we have several newspapers. I've just given you a few. There's lots. There's lots of books. When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. Lots of books with the famous slogan the way I remember it. And then there would be that dead silence on TV, and everyone in the joint would lean close, and a husky voice would come out of the sky saying, "When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen." Yeah, that's exactly how I remember it. So anyway, I'll leave you with this before I show you the example of what it's always been. There was a time in the early 2000s, well, it was for quite a while. Greenspan was Federal Reserve Chairman for quite a while, but Greenspan talks, people listen. The tagline was, "When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen." That's the effect Alan Greenspan has on the world of investing these days. So anyway, lots of people remember it the way I do. Thumb this video up if you remember. When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. Here's a When E.F. Hutton Speaks TV commercial. The stock firm E.F. Hutton, formed in 1904, gained fame during the late 70s, early 80s with the commercial campaign, When E.F. Hutton Speaks, People Listen. This is from theretrosite.com. So let's check it out.
What does your broker say? Well, my broker's E.F. Hutton. And Hutton says, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
That sounds so foreign. The talks just, oh my gosh, I get the chill. It's like I feel like I'm in a different place. I am in some respects. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I also wanted to point out, I feel like remember in the last video I was talking about coming out of that low point. We've been heading up, cresting. I believe we're going to be seeing a lot of Mandela effects coming here in this week. It's starting. I can feel it. This has happened several times. We just came through a few weeks of a low point, 2 to 3 weeks. Nothing really new, because I search every day on YouTube for Mandela effect videos for 2.5 years now, daily. I mean, I kind of feel a little embarrassed to say that, but not to most of you watching this. You understand where I'm coming from, but this is such an incredible thing. You know, one of the biggest things that happen in human history here we're dealing with. So I search daily, and there hasn't really been anything new popping up. It's almost like some days, like, no, not even a single video I care to look at. But I feel like we're coming towards a lot of changes that are going to be coming forth. So get ready for it, everyone.
E.F. Hutton. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
Yeah, that's just not what I remember. When I discovered this today, I saw When E.F. Hutton talks, and it looked foreign. I'm like, wait, that's got to be a Mandela effect. That can't be right. And then I immediately thought to myself, When E.F. Hutton speaks. Yeah, that's what I remembered the correct way automatically. It was a little different than how I see some of the other Mandela effects.
What'd your broker say?
Well, my broker's E.F. Hutton, and E.F. Hutton says,
When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
Okay, so go ahead and thumb this up if you remember speaks, and thumb it down if you remember talks. It was definitely When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. The talk sounds foreign. I know a lot of you know what I mean by that. I've never heard it before, but I used to see these commercials all the time, hundreds of times. I mean, I love the people that say, well, you don't remember the color car that drove by you around the corner 5 days ago at 10 o'clock, or, you know, just pointing something out because it's insignificant, doesn't matter. Well, you can't compare that to the Mandela effect. We're talking about some of the biggest quotes in movie history. How's that a car that drove by you 5 days ago that you didn't even really pay attention to? I mean, this is a commercial I heard hundreds of times. It's not some insignificant thing like, why would you remember that? This was pounded into my head as a kid. I used to hear this all the time. And to hear it as talks, it just sounds foreign. It sounds weird and wrong. And this is a Mandela effect. And the people who it's not a Mandela effect for, well, that's fine. If you remember it as talks, that's great. It's always been talks. So, you know, that's wonderful. I'm happy for you. But it wasn't for me. We're not all experiencing the same changes at the same time. I still see people saying, hey, look at this just changed. And I'm like, no, I found that out years ago. You know, 2016, I noticed that. I mean, but there's people waking up to this every day. So this is not going away. Mandela effect is such an incredible thing. Before I let you go, I wanted to say that You know, I was talking to my wife again today, and I really don't think she understands what I've been going through with this. I mean, yeah, I'm used to it. I'm comfortable with it now. It's not a problem. But it's always on my